Hello knitters, welcome in. Welcome to the Knitathon episode of the Cozy Sky Knits podcast. This is my YouTube channel. My name is Elizabeth. I'm coming to you from Georgetown, Texas. If you are a returning viewer, it's good to see you back. I'm so happy to see you again. If you happen to be new, welcome in. I hope you find something here today that inspires you. This is typically a podcast where I show kind of all my finished objects, my works in progress, maybe some stash acquisitions, do a little bit of chit chat about some stuff going on in my life. Usually I try to do that at the end. Sometimes I show a few things from my shop. I do have an Etsy shop that's called Cozy Sky Co, where I sell project bags and stitch stoppers and stitch markers and things like that. That's pretty much it. I live here in Georgetown, like I said, with my mother, Nancy, who's going to actually make an appearance on the podcast. She has a puzzle to share. She does a lot of puzzles. And my senior cockapoo. I am down to one cockapoo, unfortunately. I'll talk a little bit about that later. I hope you have some good snacks and a good project to work on, and that you enjoy the time spent with me. So let's go ahead and get started with what I'm wearing. Okay, so this I showed, if you're returning, you will have seen this before, but this is my Rimfrost slipover, which was actually supposed to be a vest that was tied, or slipover that was tied at the sides, and I ended up seaming up. So that was a modification I made. It is a project that is by Carrie Rasmussen, and it was done for Phil Kelene. It was a free pattern, and the construction is bottom up, and it's just simple, basically rectangles that you're knitting. You knit a front piece and a back piece, then you join at the shoulders with a 3-needle bind off. You do some neck shaping as you're knitting those pieces, and then you pick up and do a little bit of ribbing around the neckline, and then you're supposed to pick up and knit I-cords and tie them on the sides, but I ended up deciding that I wanted it to be seamed, and I just did mattress stitching along the sides. So I knit this, let's see, on a, I used Labian Amay in the colorway Winterfell, and I held 2 yarns together. One was a mohair in the Soho base, which is the thicker mohair that they have, held together with a strand of lace weight helix, which is a really nice yarn. And that made a really nice fabric. It's pretty pattern. It was fun to knit. It was engaging, but not too hard. As far as following, it was pretty clear. I just used stitch markers to mark off the different lace sections, and kept me on track. So anyway, just have it on a white t-shirt today. So it's a little bit warm here in Texas. We're starting to get into a little bit of our warmer weather, although we've had some cool evenings too. So it's been a little bit crazy. And I apologize if the light goes in and out. We're having the sun come in and out because of the clouds. We're having some rain in the area. So hopefully that's not too much of a bother for you. And then my cohort, Sasha over here, she is wearing a shawl that I knit back in 2015. And it is the Alchemilla shawl by Kelene Kinnersly. And this was done in a fingering weight yarn. The gauge on it is 20 stitches and 28 rows per 4 inches. It was knit on a US 6 or 4.0 millimeter. And the shape on this is kind of unique. It's a semicircular crescent, but then it has like a heart shaping. And so when you wear it on your back, it actually squares off in the back. And I have it turned kind of at an angle here so you can see where it drops down here, and it's the same on the back. If I were to flip it, it would be square along the back. A lot of garter stitch, and then some lace using eyelets, and then a little bit of a picot bind off. And I knit this, I don't know if I said, in Yarn Carnival in the Fire Dancer base, and in the colorway Cilantro. Unfortunately, Yarn Carnival is no longer dyeing. It was a local Texas dyer, but she's no longer dyeing yarn. So anyway, I think I used it was quite a bit of yarn, 613 yards to make this. So, but it's kind of a nice lightweight drapey shawl, and I thought it was pretty for St. Patrick's Day, which is coming up in several days. So that's what we're wearing. So I have a few finished objects to show you today. The first finished object is a sock that I showed in my last episode, but I finished the second sock, and it's just a pair of plain vanilla socks. And I knit these on a US 1 2.25 millimeter. I use Giago shorties when I knit my socks for the most part. And I knit 64 stitches. I did these cuff down, and I did a 3x1 rib at the top here for 20 rows, and I knit the leg, and then I did a slip stitch heel flap and gusset, but I used the technique recommended by Denise DeSantis of Earth Tone Girls from her No Fear sock knitting book that I recently acquired, where you twist the slip stitch. So it made a really nice heel flap, and I'm anxious to wear these and see if it adds to the durability. I'm not sure. I just used a remnant of some scrap I had for the toe and the heel. I think it was, oh, I can't remember the name of the yarn, but maybe Gauge. I got something from Gauge yarn that I'd gotten a while back. But anyway, just a dark charcoal gray. So these are nice woolly socks, and I'm probably won't get much use out of them right now because we are getting into our warm weather, but these will be nice next fall and winter. So that's my first finished object. The second finished object that I have is just something that I cast on very quickly, and I made a ribbed beanie. I had a kind of a rogue skein of yarn that was lying around, and I needed some mindless knitting one day for a meeting, so I just grabbed it. It was already in a ball, so I didn't have to wind it or anything. Grabbed that and some needles, and I just cast on, and I did a 2x2 rib with just some rapid decreases at the top, and then cinched it closed. And it's long enough that I can flip it up if I want. And I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I might give it to my mom. I think she liked it. So it's really soft. I think the yarn didn't have a yarn band on it. I lost the ball band somehow. But I believe it's an I can never say this name, Araucania yarns in the Abrazo base, which is 75% merino wool and 25% nylon. It's an Aran weight yarn with 246 yards per 75 grams. I used a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter. So just a basic rib beanie. It's nice, super soft though. And yeah, that's it. So you never saw this because it was never a whip. I just put it on and got it off really quickly. I think I finished it in a day or two. So no big deal there. And then I have one other big finished object that I'm really anxious to show you, so just give me one moment. My last episode, I mentioned that I had been casting on new things, but I really needed to get back to a few of my languishing whips. And one of those whips was my Rose cardigan by Andrea Mowry. And I decided to pick it up. It was either that or work on the gnome that I was not enjoying making, which I also showed him, I think in my last podcast, I had the hat done, but I was not enjoying that. So I gave myself the choice of the gnome or my rose cardigan, and I picked the rose cardigan. And I just had 3 of the quadrants done and had to knit the 4th and then do all the assembly and the ribbing and pick up the collar, knit the collar, and do all that stuff. So anyway, I ended up really diving into it, and I finished it. So I'm quite pleased to have this finished. This, like I said, is by Andrea Mowry. It's a very unique construction. It's knit in quadrants. So you knit a front and a back, 2 fronts and 2 backs. So left side, right side, front and back for each side. And they're identical. And then you seam it together. So there's a lot of seaming in this. A lot of mattress stitch. You seam together from the bottom up. Then you go back and you pick up along the sleeves and you knit quite a bit. I think it was 7 inches of 2x2 ribbing. Oh, and see there's this beautiful cabling that goes up, runs up the sleeve. When you're seaming, there's a cable that goes on the top of each sleeve. And when you seam it, you seam so that the seam is exposed, and it creates a beautiful combined edging there. So I think it's really pretty. And then you pick up and you knit the ribbing for the sleeves. So you can see this is an oversized kind of a dolman style cardigan, real drapey. I knit this in La Bienname in the merino sport base, and I used 4 colors. I bought this as a kit several years ago from La Bienname as a birthday gift for my 60th birthday. And the colorways, the first color that you start with is you start at the bottom of the sleeve and go up, not the ribbing, but the bottom of the reverse stockinette section. And the first color is damask. Then the second color is dusk, and that's like right in here, and so you're doing a fading sequence. Then it gets into rose quartz, which is more of this, and then the last color is winter garden. So like I said, really unique construction. After you seam it all together, you also seam the back with not a 3 needle bind off, but an exposed seam, I think, on this. And then you pick up along the bottom and you do quite a bit of 2x2 ribbing along the bottom as well. And then you knit 2 collars, basically. So it's this panel here, which is a beautiful cable panel, and you knit this separately. So you're knitting 2 long pieces. I think they, for my size, which is a size small, you knit, I think it was like 31 inches or something like that. And then you block them out, and then you attach them to the sweater. So then you start from the bottom up and you're attaching, and you leave your stitches live on the each piece of the collar, and so that you can make some adjustments. You can either put in a few more rows if you need to, if it's not mating up properly, or you can pull out a few rows if you need to. And then you do a 3 needle bind off in the back here at the collar. Once you've steamed up this, then you can just do a bind off there. So that is the construction. And like I said, it's a oversized fit. I've wanted this cardigan for a long time. I just thought it was very unique. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of knitting. It's not something I would make again. You know, it's kind of a one-time thing for me, but I know I will get a lot of wear out of it. I think it's really beautiful. I'll wear it with jeans. I'll wear it with, I have a linen skirt that's like a dusty rose color. I think it'd be pretty with. I also have some linen pants I think it'll be really beautiful with. So yeah, I think I'll get a lot of use out of it. It's very drapey. The yarn is very drapey. I haven't even wet blocked it. I've only steam blocked this just because I finished it and I wanted to show it, and I didn't think I would have time for it to dry. And I don't want it to grow too much because it is quite large on me to begin with. So anyway, I will try to insert some footage or some photos of this on me so that you can get a better idea of how it fits and what it looks like, and maybe how I style it a little bit. So, but I'm quite happy to be finished with this, and it was a labor of love. So hopefully you enjoyed seeing that and hearing about the construction of it. Let's talk about what's on my needles. Now, once I finished the rose cardigan, I gave myself permission to cast on something new. And I had shown this yarn, I don't know, maybe a podcast episode or 2 ago, from So Happy Jane. This was some yarn that I got on sale. It's her Feather Down Surrey Silk DK weight base, 246 yards per 100 grams. And the colorway is Siren Call. And it's a beautiful tealy color. I'm sensing a theme here. I don't know, maybe I'm turning into a blue-green girl. I'm usually pinks, but I really do like these colors right now. Anyway, this is 90% baby Surrey alpaca and 10% silk. So I cast on the Brume sweater by Andrea Mowry, which is done on a US 6 or 4.0 millimeter for the ribbing, and a US 7 or 4.5 millimeter for the main body. Lost my ball of yarn here, sorry. And this is in one of my yarn cozies. Okay, so this sweater, the Brume sweater, is done from top down, and it's a raglan construction. And basically what you're doing is you cast on for the neck, and it's kind of like it's a turtleneck, but like a loose turtleneck, so it doesn't sit right next to your neck. But this yarn has so much body, and because it's DK, and then you do a fold over for the collar, it kind of stands up on its own. It's really kind of a cool fit, and something that I really liked about the sweater when I saw it. So you cast on using a German twisted cast on so that you have a little bit of a stretch. and then you knit in a rib for quite a bit. I forget how many inches that you knit, and then you fold the collar over and knit the 2 stitches together, the 2 rows together on the next row. So you get that beautiful, you can see how thick and luscious this is. It's just really nice, but it's super lightweight as well, which is really nice. And then it's just raglan shaping. So you can see the raglan shaping here. And then you split for the sleeves. I just put these on stitch holders with a cable clasp. Same thing on this side. And then knit, join together in the round and knitting, well, it's knit in the round, but join, continued in the round, oh, these are my words here, for the body. And I'm working on that now. So I really like this yarn. When I was doing the collar, I was like, oh, it almost looks kind of camo, like camouflage to me. And then as I'm getting into it, it's kind of striping a little bit more. I'm not alternating skeins. I actually really like the beauty of the yarn, and it's probably showing up a little more prominent on camera than it is in real life. It's a little more modeled in real life, so not quite as noticeable, but I just think it shows the depth of the yarn, and it's really beautiful, and it's so soft. So that is the Brume sweater by Andrea Mowry. So I decided that one cast on wasn't enough. So I gave myself permission to cast on a second item. But this one was justified because I had to cast on the Saunas Cat number 9 by Pia, our host of this knit-a-thon. So funny story, one night I was deciding what yarn to use for it, and I had yarn everywhere. I was pulling out of my secret stash, my bags, every cupboard I had yarn in. I was pulling out all these different yarns. I was going through Ravelry because I have all my yarn logged in Ravelry. I was going through Ravelry to see if there was anything, and then trying to locate it in real life, and I was just going on and on and on, and finally I landed on something, and my mom, Nancy, came in, and it was getting pretty late. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and she's like, did you finally find something? And I'm like, yeah. And she said, well, what'd you decide on? And I showed her. It's just basic gray. And she was like, all that yarn, all those colors, and you decided on gray? I'm like, yeah. And then she said, well, what's the accent color? I said, oh, it's equally exciting, white. So this is what I'm making it out of. And the reason is I really do need a neutral sweater. And I had this Barocco Remix Light, which is 100% recycled fibers. Got it years ago on sale. Both the gray and the white are the same base, and I got it years ago on sale, and I've just never really known exactly what to make with it. And when I looked, it was the recommended gauge for the sweater was the exact gauge of this yarn. So I was like, oh, that's a sign. It needs to be that. So I went ahead and cast on, and I am making a size 2, and I'm using US. Let's see. The pattern calls for US 3 or 3.25 millimeter needles for the ribbing, and then a US 5 or 3.75 millimeter for the body. I had to go down in needle size, so I'm using a US 2 for the ribbing, and then a US 4 for the body. So I've cast on, I did the short row shaping and the increases, and now I am ready for to start the color work. There's my end. My beginning around is there. So here it is. Kind of hard to see because it's squished in on this small needle, small cable. But I couldn't find my US 4 in my Chiagas, which is my typical needles that I use. So I have some bamboos that I'm using, some Chiago bamboo interchangeables, and I'm using those. And actually, I'm kind of enjoying the bamboo needles for a change. I don't use them very often, but I'm enjoying them, especially with this yarn. It has a nice feel. And this yarn is actually, I love the texture of it. I think it'll be really nice for here in Texas. I don't know if it's got linen in it. It feels like it has linen in it, but I don't, oh yeah, I guess it does. Okay, 30% nylon, 27% cotton, 24% acrylic, 10% silk, and 9% linen. So that's why I really like this. It's got a really nice feel to it. It's very soft. but yet dry at the same time, if that makes any sense. Anyway, I'm really enjoying it, and I am anxious to start the color work as I continue through the Knitathon, and this is what I'll be working on during the Knitathon. So that is that cast on. Okay, one other project that is on my needles, which is a big project. Since I finished my rose cardigan, I thought, okay, tackle one of the other big projects. And this is something I had started also a couple years ago, but I think I only knit like 3 rows on it, and then I put it away, and then life got busy, I moved, oh, blah, blah, blah. Just couldn't get back to it. But I finally decided, no, I want to get this yarn out of my stash and get this project finished. So I decided to pick it up again, and I'm actually, now that I've started it kind of fresh, I ended up ripping out the 3 rows that I had done, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually was quite a bit because it's a blanket. It was a cast on of 332 stitches. So it is the Incredible Blanket by Purl Soho, which is a free pattern, and I'm knitting it in, here's a picture of the blanket. You can see it's that beautiful, all those colors. And I'm knitting it in the Linen Quill mini set. So this set will make this blanket. And I'm just literally following the pattern that the designer used for this sample, because I just was very, very drawn to that ever colorful thing. It kind of reminds me of crochet, but it's knit, not crocheted, but it reminds me of like a granny stitch blanket or something. So anyway, that's what I am doing, and I'm doing it, knitting it on, so it's fingering weight. Linen Quill is a fingering weight yarn, and it's a beautiful yarn. Excuse me one second while I grab it out of my bag here. It is, so these minis are 25 gram minis, and it is made of 50% fine Highland wool, 35% alpaca, and 15% linen. I know I've talked about this yarn before. I've shown a few sweaters that I've made. It's really got a nice feel to it. And this color happens to be orange, super orange, so it's very bright orange. I use this in my half and half triangle wrap, I think it's called. It was the Soho Square by Jackie Rose, which was a riff off of the half and half triangle wrap. But anyway, here is where I'm at. Not that far away. I have these cute bunny stitch stoppers, these little sleepy bunnies. They're so cute. And let's see if I can show you the right side. Okay, so here you go. Here's where I'm at. So I basically have done, see, 5 colors so far. So you're knitting 2 rows in this pattern stitch, 2 rows per color, and then you cut the color and go on to the next. And then I think you're going to end up repeating the colors as well. I think 2 repeats. And what I did to make it easier for myself, because I did want to follow this exactly, because I just love the picture, is I took my yarn when I got all the different bundles, and it was so fun when I received this pack. I'll show you. I have them just in this canvas bag, but it's just a pile of yumminess. You can see all those. But what I did is I laid them all out kind of by color, and then I took the pattern, and the pattern actually has written down the color order that they used for the sample blanket, and I wrote on the label. So like this color is super orange, and I wrote on here it's used in row 5 and then again in row 45. So what I'll do is as I finish the row, I'll cross off the 5, and then I know I just have to use it again for row 45. Hopefully that'll keep me organized as I go through this, but if I get off, it's not a big deal, because this is just a scrappy looking blanket to begin with, so it won't be that big of a deal. But I'm really enjoying it. I just picked it up the other day, I think yesterday actually. So that's why I've gotten through 5 colors. But I think it's going to be fun to work on. And so I'm thinking of trying to dedicate, I don't know if I'll do it daily, but at least, you know, probably half the week, I'll try to do a little bit on this every day, or, you know, every day of the half day. That's not making sense. Every day of the half week, I'll try. So maybe 3 or 4 days of the week, I'll try to knit a few rows and get through a few colors. But I know it's going to be one of those things that as I'm knitting it, I just want to get to the next color, and then I'm like, oh, because I know just the other day I stayed up too late doing this because I was like, I just want to see what this blue gray is going to look like once it's in. So I know that that's going to happen. It's kind of that thing when you're knitting self-striping yarn and you're like, oh, just one more stripe. I just got to get to that next stripe. I want to see what it looks like. So hopefully that'll move the project on, you know, quite rapidly. But yeah, so it's like 332 stitches. So quite lengthy. I think the finished size is 51 inches by 51 inches, something like that. So it'll be like a throw. But anyway, that's it for that. So that's all my new cast-ons, and that's what's on my needles right now. I still have my gnome to work on, and I still have my other sheepy sock from La Biscotte, which are from Biscotte yarns, but I have not had the desire to cast on that second sock. I don't know, I've never had second sock syndrome before, but I think this is a case where I do. So I probably just need to get the toe cast on. I think that's what's stopping me, because it's that Judy's Magic cast on toe. I don't like toe up socks. I usually like cuff down, but I should just get it cast on, and then, you know, then the color work. I don't mind the color work. You know, if I dedicated just, you know, an hour a week to it, I could get that sock done pretty quickly. So maybe I'll try to hold myself accountable. You can hold me accountable to doing that, because I want to get those socks done. But that's what's on my needles for right now. Okay, I just have a couple of acquisitions that I thought I would share as well. It's not yarn, but it's fiber related. So I received a beautiful set of stitch markers that I ordered from Hello Lavender. And if anybody knows me, my vice in life is Diet Coke. I don't drink coffee, I drink Diet Coke for breakfast. I drink it all day long. I'm trying to kick the habit. I've tried to kick it several times. I've never been successful. Anyway, I got the Diet Coke. I think she called it Girl Breakfast. Girl Breakfast was the set name. I just thought it was so cute. And then it came with 2 roses. So these little stitch markers that she makes out of polymer clay. And I think she painted the Diet Coke emblem on it. So I thought those were quite cute, and I'm anxious to get them onto one of my projects. And then I got another book, and I got a book called The Wonder of Wool, A Knitter's Guide to Pure Breed Sheep, and it's by Justine Lee and Jess Morency. And it's this beautiful hardcover book, and it goes through all the different breeds of sheep and the types of wool, the history of the sheep, and it's got a lot of beautiful black and white photography, some beautiful colored photography. Let's see, these sheep are so cute. And it just talks about all the different types of wool. I haven't had a chance to really read the whole thing yet, but I've just kind of browsed through it. But it gives you like this really beautiful diagram of all the different types, and gives you kind of the information on the different breeds. And you can see here. And it shows swatches, which I really think is kind of nice as well to see. Read about the sheep, kind of see a little drawing of the sheep or a picture of the sheep, and then to also see a swatch of yarn made from that sheep's fleece, I think is amazing. And then there are also projects in the back. So you get some patterns too. I didn't buy it for the patterns, but there are some really cute patterns in here. I bought it more just as a reference book and just because I think it's really beautiful. So, but this is really pretty. The shawl. Those baubles. Those are baubles. Yep, that baubles. It's done almost like in a paisley pattern. I think that's beautiful. So anyway, so I thought I would share that I got that book as well. And those are my only 2 acquisitions. Hi, Mom.
Hi, knitters. I hope you're enjoying the Knitathon.
Looks like you've been busy with puzzles.
Yes, I'm working on another puzzle outside on the sun porch and finished this one up. This is my 4th puzzle since 2026 started.
Oh, good.
So, and this was quite challenging because of all the different colors. But I was so excited, Elizabeth, because I found the little matching tea set to this cup in the puzzle.
Oh,
And this was given to me by your great aunt Margaret, my aunt Margaret, who had the same birthday that I had. So we were very, very close. So I have the whole tea set for this. So I'm passing this on to you.
Nice.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day, knitters. I hope you have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.
Okay, thanks. Hi everybody, a little change of venue. We're actually in my bedroom. The reason I'm here is that I do get a lot of questions about how I store my knits. So I thought I would quickly show you how over the years I've kind of developed the best way for me to store my knits, and maybe it would be of use to you. So we'll go through some sweaters first. So what I do, so I just have like a basic pullover, and let's see if we can show how I fold it, because that's key. Usually place it face up on a surface. I fold the arms in over top of each other. Then I fold the bottom up, flip it over, and then I fold it into thirds basically, and I tuck one side into the other, and I get a little sweater burrito. Then what I do with these, I have a big chest, a storage chest that I keep most of my sweaters in, and I will either stand them up in there in layers, or sometimes I'll lay them down this way. It just depends on how I have it organized at the time. But it allows me to kind of keep them compact. It minimizes the amount of creasing because everything's just kind of rolled instead of folded, and it distributes the weight better across all the sweaters that I have stored in that container. I also do this with my summer sweaters, my tees, and I keep those not in that chest, but because I've outgrown it, but I keep them inside of an IKEA storage unit that I have, the foldable bins, if you will, and I just then stack them in there, and it makes it really easy for me to kind of see based on color which sweater it is, and I can just pull out what I need and then plunk it back in when I'm done. So the cardigans are a little bit more complicated. So this is actually one that's really difficult to fold because it's the Comfort Fade cardi, which has this big shawl collar. So what I try to do with these and other things similar to this is lay it out and fold the fronts together. And then on this, I would fold down the shawl collar, and what I'm striving for is the most square rectangular shape that I can get. And then I'll fold the sleeves in like I did with the pullover. And this one I'm probably going to do in two because it's longer. And then I should say in three instead of just in half. And just kind of tuck it in. And again, a little sweater burrito. Makes it really easy to have these little packs of goodness, if you will. And like I said, I store them in a chest. So that's what I do for my sweaters. For my shawls, here I have my satellite shawl from Andrea Mowry, which is a large asymmetrical shawl. So those are hard to figure out how to fold and store. So what I've done with these is I try to fold it on the long edge, and then I fold it in a little bit more. And then what I'll do is I'll look at the shape, and knowing where I'm going to store it, and I store these in a glass cabinet that I have that's a shelving unit. And so I know the depth of that, and what I try to do is strive for a roll that's going to give me that depth. And so with this, I would fold this over, and then I would start to roll it up. And then I store these in my cabinet that, like I said, that has shelves in it, and I just have these rolls. And I kind of have them a little bit categorized. Basically, the ones that I wear the most are on the top shelf, and they're kind of colorized by neutrals and into the darker tones and what have you. So I'll show you a close-up picture of that too. But that's what I do for that. Try to get to a squarish, rectangular shape, and then with all your edges, you know, whatever shape the shawl might be in, and then just try to roll and get to the size of the depth of whatever container you're storing them in. Now we don't have too much, I don't have too much problem with moths here in Texas, so it's not a huge concern for me to put them in plastic or anything, but I know other people have, and depending on the area you live in, that may be more of a concern, and you may have to put them into plastic. So here's the big chest that I was talking about that I have all my sweaters in. It's a big chest or trunk that I got from Pottery Barn years ago. But it makes for really good storage, and it's pretty tight sealing. And I also put some dryer sheets that are lavender scented and some lavender sachets in there. Just also help with any bugs. And this is my shelving unit that I have. You can see in here I have all my rolls of shawls. Well, I hope that was helpful. Okay, so I thought I would just give you a little update of some stuff going on in my life. I had intended to podcast before this knit-a-thon, but I was not able to. I had a few things in my family that happened. So one was I unfortunately lost my mom's sister, so my Aunt Patty, who lives in Florida with her daughter. So she passed away in her sleep, so that was nice. She had been suffering, so she passed away in her sleep, but still, that was a loss to us. She was quite the character. We have a lot of good memories of fun times with her over the years, from when I was younger, and then both when I was an adult as well. And she used to live in Galveston, so my mom and I used to kind of take care of her, and I was, she called me her other daughter. I always helped her. She had kind of a strained relationship with her 3 children, so I always helped her. She wasn't real good with money, so I was always helping her with her finances. I did her income taxes for her, things like that, and would help her when I would go visit, would help get like her internet set up when she moved and stuff. But she was a character, and she loved to decorate, and she loved color. She loved books, and so she was quite artistic, and she had a lot of unique pieces of artwork, pottery. She had all kinds of pottery and stuff. So she was a really interesting lady, very artsy. And I think because I'm a creative person, I kind of related to her in that regard. So anyway, that was a great loss. And then a week later, I had to put my other cockapoo, Griffin, down. And he's made appearances on this podcast and had pictures shown. I'll put a few pictures of him. But he was having some kidney issues that we found out about last fall. And he lived a good bit after that on the special food that they gave him, some different hydration things that we did. But in the end, he ended up having a tumor that showed up, and so he had cancer, and I didn't want him to suffer. And it was just time. He was 15, so he had a really good life, but he was a great dog, and he was also a character. That guy was my Velcro dog. Wherever I was, he was, and if I wasn't home, he was attached to someone else, like my mom. It used to be my dad, and then when my dad passed, he attached himself to my mom when I would travel. And he had to be, if he slept with you in bed, which he always slept in someone's bed, he had to be touching you. It didn't matter if it was 105 degrees out, he had to be touching you. And that dog, for as small as he was so hot. We called him the little heater. But in the winter, it was nice to have him snuggled up, and he would just get into a tight little ball, and you wouldn't even know he was there when he slept. He never moved all night, and he loved to sleep. He loved to snuggle in bed. And it was kind of funny because if my mom would take a nap in the afternoon, he would know, and he would run in there and jump up on her bed and snuggle right into his little spot. It was funny. And he was half poodle, so he was the smartest dog that I've ever had. And we trained him early on, as we did all of our dogs. We trained them to ring a bell when they needed to go outside to use the bathroom, because we don't want to teach them to bark. So we teach them to ring a bell, and it usually goes pretty quickly. He learned in like a day. He was so quick, but he was so smart that if the dogs would be outside and evening or whatever, my mom would bring him in, and somehow one of them would get stuck outside, and she would close the door. Griffin would go back over, ring the bell to let us know that someone was outside. So it was so funny. Or he wasn't very food motivated, so sometimes he didn't want to eat when the other dogs ate. So he would just kind of wait, and then when he was ready to eat, he would go over and he'd ring the bell, and we'd be like, I know he doesn't need to go out. Oh, he wants his food. So if he could have used words, he would have been probably just smart as could be talking to me and carry on wild conversations, because he had a way of talking to me non-verbally. It was so funny. But we're gonna miss him for sure. But we have a lot of happy memories of him as well. So those are the two things that kind of took up some time and waylaid me from podcasting. In addition to work has been very stressful. We're coming up on our fiscal year end at the end of March, and they're talking about making some more organization changes April 1. And so it's a very stressful time. And I have to say, for the first time, I'm really not enjoying my job. It's way too stressful. And that coupled with everything else going on in my life, and with everything that's going on in the world with the situation in Iran and what have you, I just, it's been a lot, and it's just been hard to keep going with some of that, but I'm trying to work through it and stay positive, and thank goodness I have knitting to help with that. And so just keep on moving. That's all we can do. So we are thinking of, I, of course, will always have a dog, most likely, but I think we still have Sullivan. He's 16. He's our other cockapoo, the brown and light tan and white one. And he's in fairly decent shape. I just took him to the vet, and she said, well, he's got old man or old dog's, stuff going on, but nothing major. And he seems pretty good. He does have a little bit of dementia, which is, it's kind of cute and funny, because he forgets that he ate, and he kind of forgets where he is sometimes, and we have to like direct him to certain places, or he'll get into something and he doesn't know how to get out, so we have to back him out, and we try not to laugh at him, but he's just so cute. But I will probably eventually get another dog as well, but I think I'll probably once Sullivan passes, I'll probably take a year off of having an animal, just so that I can travel and not have that limitation of a pet for just a little bit, and then I'll reassess. So anyway, that's pretty much what's been going on with my life. I hope that you've enjoyed spending some time with me. I hope you got some work done on your projects, and I will give you some time back here, hopefully, to take a little break before the next podcaster goes. And like I said, I just hope you're having a good time and working on some good stuff and making good progress. And I hope that if you're in a cold climate, that it's starting to warm up where you're at. I know we've had some crazy weather everywhere. So yeah, I guess that's it. I want to thank you for spending time with me. If you have not subscribed and you'd like to, I would greatly appreciate that. It's a good way to support my channel. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you could give me a thumbs up, I'd also appreciate that, as I'm trying to grow my channel, and that helps with the algorithms for them to show my channel to other people. So I don't monetize my channel. I don't ever plan to do that. So yeah, I just like spending time and creating community here. So, and I want to thank Pia for inviting me to participate in this knitathon. So I think this is my third time by myself. So I enjoy it, and I'm very thankful that she puts this together for us, and that we get to spend this time together with all these amazing podcasters in this community. So, okay, everyone take care, stay safe and happy, and lead with kindness. And I hope that sunshine is wherever you are. Take care. Bye-bye.